or evidence that would exonerate her. I think that's why she stood on business and said, although I
Mhm.
apologize to Dershowitz, I stand by my original allegation. It's like a
Is
double step apology.
there not a room for argument then that if the whole mainstream narrative's true, that the FBI by the world constantly withholding the realities of these vulgar crimes, whether it's they don't want the world's not ready to hear the truth or whatever, contributes to the self-unaliving of so many people every year. If I'm at just fathom this for me, people. You're a young girl, you put it all on the line, and the people that are paid to protect you, the FBI, the government, all these individuals withhold evidence for whatever reason that can showcase the truth that you have been trying to push out there. That is one thing that I'll be honest, if I had to stare into that abyss too long, the hopelessness, because that's the equivalent of walking into a police cell, a police station with all the evidence, handing it over and being told to run along straight back into a world where you don't have justice and the monsters are still at bay. So, okay, let me ask you this, Elliot. Let me throw this one to you, and speak freely as you want. Okay, and you don't have to speak as freely, But where's your head at? What would your interpretation of everything be? Where are you landing with this? And you can land on several theories, and I just want to get sort of where your head's going with. And I'm going to ask the same to you after this, Patrick.
Well, obviously, I think you have some really good points with the whole theory that this could have happened much longer ago than it's being reported, right? Now, I also think that it shouldn't be ruled out that this was just an accident, right?
Right.
I think that we still have to make obviously, right. This is probably the most realistic. Oh, I'm sorry, my camera got on fire.
That's all right. No, listen. So Patrick, I like when it comes to algorithms, I like to put in 1% margins of hope error coding, right? So I could 100% get behind this was an accident, and I can get behind witness protection as the two wild card solutions for people to have hope. I'd rather give you 98% horror with 2% margin of error that could be something awesome, if that makes sense. Well, 1% could be awesome. The other one's still super sad. Elliot, I was just saying that.
Yeah, I caught it. I didn't leave. I accidentally bumped my plugs and everything unplugged. But
no problem.
I'm back. What I was finishing up is Occam's razor, right? That's the thing that everyone likes to say. Whatever is the most obvious conclusion is usually the right conclusion. Now, I obviously don't buy into that in most cases. I think that there's obviously the most obvious one is always the most obvious for some other reason sometimes. But I think that in this case, if it really was, an overdose scenario, I think that it is possible that there was an accident. It is possible for freaky
100%,
things to
100%.
happen to famous people, right? So I think that while that's obviously a possibility, I don't think that really being skeptical and looking into this further isn't a good idea. I just think that we have to be realistic that is always a likely possibility. And I don't know. I just think that is something that is kind of being forgotten sometimes in the frenzy.
It's interesting because you were the first person that sort of made the light bulb of the accident come on in my brain. So I'm glad that we've shared a little bit of theory swapping, if you will. Now, Patrick, again, I just want to apologize. Obviously, you've known Virginia quite well, and you were talking about some trauma stuff at the beginning of this. Anything that I asked you that you're just not comfortable with, just tell me to shut up and we'll move on from it. But where are you sitting with this? And obviously, I imagine it's probably better for you to just say what the mainstream media says and keep stum about it all, I would imagine. But where do you land with this, bro?
Well, you were the first person to say it, and I wasn't going to allude to it earlier. But there is that small percentage of chance that this isn't. There's a small percentage of chance that this does not add up because it may be a sloppy wit pro situation.
Yeah.
But also, I can't go off that for hope. I got to go with what the news is reporting because I don't want to insult the family. God
No,
forbid.
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was saying. So
God
now,
forbid, like her brother found actually, her on, not that, God forbid her brother found her and I'm online, throwing out some.
no, 100%.
I want to be very reverent about that and say that it's not wrong for us to have that, question in our heads. Even Jimmy Dore had mentioned that on his show the other day, and Shaun, I think, mentioned that. So, like, it's not wrong to ask all those questions. It would be actually irresponsible to the investigation to not look at all the possible scenarios. We have to put it all on the table and look at all of it, as uncomfortable as it is. And the last thing I'll say, the children need to be asked what they saw. If allegedly her husband was beating her for 10 years, then I would argue that the kids probably saw something. And if they did, I know this is extremely uncomfortable, but how did I meet Virginia in the first place? We went into that earlier in the show, but I asked her to support Julian Assange because she's Australian and he is too, and they're both being screwed by the crown. And why? I said my uncle, the ambassador to Ecuador, Michael J. Fitzpatrick, put Assange in prison, and I really don't, support that whatsoever. So I told Virginia, I know the danger I'm up against based on the Mercy Corps people I work for and the granddaughter J.C. Penney I'm blowing the whistle on, but I'm also, taking a stand to support Assange. And that directly clashes with my uncle who put him in jail. So I asked Virginia to support him. Whistleblowers the World Unite, and she did. So with that said, I am speaking from authority when I say I have an extreme rift in my family, and yet I stand on business and I stand to recorrect the narrative. My ancestors came to America, we went through the military merit-based system and whatnot. My uncle eventually, after generations, he became a State Department ambassador. But my grandpa's World War II, Korea, Vietnam Ranger. Like, my uncle is like a Richmond north of Richmond, as Oliver Anthony so sings about, and he's like the Silver Spoon kid of my merit-based Ranger grandpa. So I take after my grandpa and stand on business. I tap into our Irish legacy. We're now Americans, and we're now like merit-based. We're free. We don't have to simp for the crown. So it upsets me that my uncle simped out for the crown as a Fitzpatrick, as an Irishman. We're here now. We should tap back into our freedom. But he wanted to click up to the deep state and work with the crown and the deep state to imprison Assange. And I told Virginia that's extremely a problem, insulting to me as an Irishman, Irish American, and that she supported Assange and tweeted out February 20th, 2020. That's caused an extreme rift in my family. But again, I have ancestors buried in Arlington National Cemetery and probably all throughout Ireland. And I can't imagine how they would feel if I were to not recorrect my family's narrative and stand for the truth. So when I ask about the kids, it's with extreme reverence, but I know that I've had to stand up to my own East Coast family my entire life, and especially as recent years, and it's caused a massive rift. And I don't wish that on anybody, but at the same time, on my family is a high level hello, my uncle put Assange in prison. If I were to not speak on that, I would be a piece of shit. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go down like that. As uncomfortable as it is, I must confront that. And so I would appeal to the children to say, as uncomfortable as it is, you must confront the fact that, your mom said that your dad allegedly almost unalived her. So we need to talk about that. And kids need therapy, but I think they know a lot. And if I'm willing to confront my uncle, and Virginia supported me in doing that, the kids are in a rock and a hard place right now. I don't know what's going on, but I would appeal to them to tell us what they saw, if you will.
I agree.
They saw something.
Well, here's the thing. 10 years of supposed reported or known abuse, and he gets the kids? There's what did Virginia do to lose the kids? Because I'm telling you now, I imagine it was something like a parking ticket, and the elites have just went, oh, well, time to lose your kids. I'm not saying that's what it was, but you got to understand, the rules don't apply to Virginia. The cabal, the gross fingers and arms that stretch around the world that prey on children are in every town, every city, every political building, every lawyer's block, every milkman, every school. It's not a case of, oh, she upset some people in America on an island. She messed with the global ring. Okay? Do you know how upset the cartel gets when you mess with their money? Right? Now go to the top of the ladder of criminality. Go at the top of the ladder where your payoff of 12 million is the equivalent of Elliot taking his jeans out the wash and finding some money in the back pocket. Do you see what I'm saying? The
It's a great
rules
point
don't
you make.
apply. They do not apply to this woman. She is. I'll be honest with you, man. Like, we need to put this proof of life timeline together. I need to know all the evidence about her husband because, like I say, if you've got kids or you love anyone, it is, people always imagine, oh, they've been paid off. They've been paid off. Do you know how much of a bloody trail there is for me to pay you off in a crime? There's freaking paper trails everywhere. It's way better business to phone you up and make you do it because you know what the hell I'll do to your freaking kids and your loved ones. Do you know what I'm saying? And you don't think that's how, but you don't think that would work. You're mad. You're mad. That's just how it's done. This woman had 3 children, a husband. She had her farm. She had everything that she wanted. And it was just everything that she needed, money, her story. They allowed that to happen. And then they took from her everything that mattered to her. One piece at a time.
You're not wrong to be concerned about the proof of life, Ron, because I was concerned about that for a while. I knew she was legit, and I was talking to legit people. I knew it was legitly her. But it's so funny,
Yeah.
like when Elliot was reporting on the bus accident, he was one of the first ones on X to report it about 24 hours before, because we knew her, and we knew her Instagram was legit, but not a lot of people, even in mainstream, knew that she had an Instagram or that it was legit, so they were saying it was fake. But anyways, like, I that was annoying, but I'm like, well, this is the concerning point, though. I was concerned that, like, she didn't call me in November. Remember, I have the messages in November 24. She was extremely excited to talk about the Louis Free connection and how she may have a precedent to look at that and relitigate that possibly. And she said, when do you want to talk? Do you want to talk in the morning, the afternoon? It's totally up to you, your preference. I can't wait to connect. Much love, V. Heart emoji, butterfly emoji. She was very receptive and excited. And again, she had liked a lot of my stuff, but she hadn't talked to me directly in about a year since, like, about a year before that in like 2023. She would like my stuff and she would see my messages. And I promised her when we first met that I'd keep her up to date and send her some messages every once in a while. But it's concerning to me. She never called me. So this is the thing I'll have to say about that. She said she was extremely receptive and didn't call me when she said she was going to. She went ghost in November. Again, she went ghost in 2023, the last message she sent me, and then got back to me in 2024 when she really understood that all that trauma with Dersh could be re-looked at through the Louis Free angle. And I think that really inspired her. And the fact that she said she was going to call me, and that would have been the first time we actually talked on the phone, and she didn't, it tells me that she really understood this narrative was real and that she was willing to risk a phone call to entertain this. And not just to the lawyer who sued Mercy Corps, but to me, the guy who gave the narrative to her. Why did she not call me? Why did she not message me back since then? The last correspondence I got from her was where she liked my comments. Again, she never got back to my message, but on her deathbed, she liked my comment saying, do you need a kidney? I was like pouring my heart out saying, I'll give you my kidney if you need a kidney. And she liked it. And it was weird to me. I'm like, okay, she's liking my comment about, do you need a kidney? But she's not getting back to me about the November message. She said she would give me a phone call over. And the last thing I'll say before I pitch it over is I'm concerned, based on what I know about domestic violence and abusive men, is if what she said or what she alleged is true, if it is true that he's been beating her for 10 years, you tell me, guys, like, if, and I'm not Mr. Steal Your Guy. I'm extremely, like, all about the work, and women know this. This is why Virginian, like, survivors trust me, because I'm totally safe. I'm not a weirdo. But at the same time, men who are, I don't know, insecure or just married men in general can be concerned, and I don't blame them. Like, who's creeping in your DMs? That could be a question that he had. Why are you smiling at your phone? Because I sent her funny ass stuff. I really did. So, like, was she laughing at her phone at a brunch? And, like, my question is, did she possibly get beaten for going to her husband and saying, honey, we now have a narrative to relitigate Dershowitz possibly through Louis Free, and this guy I've been telling you about for years, possibly that has a narrative that's legit, and let's call him. Let me call. Like, I think that might have happened. I don't think it's delusional to ask that question. Has she ever been beaten? Not for me, not for just me. That's one example. Has she ever been beaten because people online reached out to her and encouraged her? I don't know, but I'm suspect about the fact she was excited and never got back to me. So what do you guys think about that?
I think if you're saying we had a algorithmic change in communication about a year ago, I would say that if I wanted to make your sister disappear, Patrick, I would need about a year after the family realize she's gone to condition you to deal with the public a year later when I go public with her and her unaliving, is what I think. I think we could be looking at a massive case that stretches back further than we can think. And when we have family member, and this is just in the cabal theory, just so you know, this isn't in the murder she wrote theory or the family. This is in the loose end theory. People were saying to me, you know, well, if she went missing, they would have to buy off the family and do all of this. Sure, that could happen. But you cannot buy off Patrick's natural emotional reaction to the situation. You have to let him adapt. Metaphorically, Patrick, not you in this situation. Like, you have to let them adapt. You would need to let the adrenaline, the fear, all of that to pass. And that takes time. Because her brother is involved. The farm worker is involved. Her ex-husband is apparently being framed as this monster, which gives us this global want to keep her safe and separate. It's almost like we are, as a planet, assisting in her isolation. I want to see facts. I want to see receipts. I want to know the level of the alleged abuse. I want to know why the frickin' suicide note looks like that. What, mate? What? I'm sorry. Like, why is there a bit missing here?
I like I said, I don't think that's a suicide note.
Well, you know what I think that is? I think,
been,
well, I don't know, but Elliot, remember we were on Shaun's show last time, like right after the bus accident, we had called for a documentary where Virginia needs to go to Washington and like knock on every single door and get them all on record. You're like George Bush in the Iraq War. You're either with us or you're against us, but inverting his talking point and making it ours. And so her writing a note saying that she's supporting protests, absolutely, and stuff. Maybe she was watching the show. I don't know, but like. It's very interesting that that's one of the last notes that we have from her, and she's totally supporting what kind of in tune what we were already vibing with, that we need to push the envelope. We need to like double down on this narrative. We can't just let her die. And the fact that she died, it should be said, like the night that the Pope was being buried and stuff, is a weird omen, because again, the Pope and her both supported Assange against my uncle who put him in prison, and they're both dead now. Two of my main allies against my uncle are now dead on the same day, or the one was being buried while she died. It's kind of suspect. So like, I think the Catholic Church should put their money where their mouth is and like make Virginia a saint. Can we all say it? Salve Virginia. What's up? Like, who's the new Pope? We don't know yet. But the Pope, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say Elliot was right there. So I've done my own passive media consumption there. The way this is written, they want you to think this is the unaliving note, because
right?
They're doing,
exactly. Yes.
It just says this is the equivalent of them going into her pocket and finding a bus ticket that she wrote some notes on and being like, "Oh, lady, no longer live, wrote note before, no longer here, put out, tell stupid people." That's what this is. That's what.
And you can even tell, because like, look at, you would not read it like word it so like strangely. If it was like, if it was a clear suicide note, it would say, read, man, we gotta, the unaliving note, read the unaliving note. You know, it would not, it would be so much more clear that that was the actual intention of that.
If you've done a 12-hour shift, you're on the bus and you're just flicking through headlines, you're just going to assume, oh, that's another person now that totally believes, oh, don't worry, it definitely was self-unaliving because the newspapers have published the note. I'm not going to bother reading it, but I'm going to be, convinced by that headline. Almost like when she said she was hit by a bus at 100 kilometers an hour, but then her brother corrected it, nothing suspicious.
Well, that's the craziest thing about it, is that she said it was going so fast and it didn't seem like it was. The way she described the accident, like that's the most suspicious thing about it to me, right? And again, I don't want to like do too much like speculating here, but like if she really was trying to post it to a private account, now I don't know if she was actually in the car for that bus crash. They're saying she wasn't. Maybe she didn't get out of the car. Maybe she had recently been hit by someone, her husband maybe, and was already
here's the-
looking
Elliot,
some way.
Elliot, here's the thing: the driver's a former EMT. So if you hit somebody with your car a little bit and you get out, you are going to naturally scan the inside. of the
I'm
car.
totally agreeing. I'm
Okay,
just
good.
saying, let's just assume she was, right? Let's assume that she was in this accident. Now,
Okay, only if she's in the boot of the car.
sure,
Only if she's in the boot of the
okay.
car.
I'm just saying, we're trying to look at this chronologically. We're trying to see even in the best case scenario that all this happened, right? For whatever narrative. She was in this accident. She went to the hospital. Now, she said she had 4 days to live because of kidney failure. I think that maybe she went to the hospital, didn't realize because she'd been, on medication for so long because she's been in some serious like physical situations with her husband. I saw that she broke her neck a few years ago and never didn't want to say anything, didn't want anyone to know about it. She didn't even say how it happened, but given what it seems like we're knowing now, it seems pretty clear that her husband broke her neck at some point. So clearly she's been
allegedly, possibly,
sure, allegedly, yeah.
Okay.
But so I'm not putting it past the fact that she had built up kidney problems from being on medication for so long, and they found it then. Now, I don't know. I'm just saying, I think that we can play this from a ton of different angles, but we have to. If we're going to play it from a ton of different angles, then we have to play them from all the different angles.
I agree. So let me, we're going to go and start our next show in a minute, right? So let me just say, for conspiracy-free narrative, I can get behind it was an accident. But right, and I could even go as crazy as, that 1 in 10 million pills that's 5 times stronger than it should be. She could have got one of them, right? I can get behind that. I'd be very angry at the world if if the universe has just let that happen. Crap day for the universe, right? I cannot believe the official narrative. I cannot believe the bus, anything involving the bus. Personally, Ron believes that she was taken a long time ago. The cabal have spent months doing horrific things, and because that's what they do. And I'm sorry to say this. This comes from reports from people who were taken as children into tunnels and had horrific things done to them. And when we talk about humiliation rituals and we talk about horrible people that prey on kids, she is a vision of hope that these people, they can't be having. Okay. It's up there with, just a crazy guy with no ulterior motive got up one day and just shot John Lennon for no reason, right? Yeah. Just for no reason, right? Nothing suspicious there, right? You can't have these people. You cannot have people who win against the cabal, who change the world, who inspire, who... You can't have someone like Virginia when there is so many more Virginias without a voice out there who can go to Virginia for strength, who can use her case, her evidence, how all of this came about, and just use it and repeat it. If you destroy that woman, completely destroy her legacy, you have now just dealt the most devastating blow to every other future Virginia ever. Because, hey, the public will be, you fooled us once and we gave up a prince. You ain't going to fool us again, right? Because once that legacy is destroyed, Virginia's not here to fight for herself or claw it back. 12 million is chump change. Someone knows something because people keep lying. The family, Patrick, you're in a very unique situation. So I just want to make sure everyone understands this. These are my views. You need to have a very, very quick word with someone. And we need to know, there's going to be CCTV on that farm. Okay. So let's get it out. Let's get some time-stamped date. Not because we're accusing you of anything, but because, goddamn, have you ever heard of Reddit? Okay, your lives are never going to be the same. 6 months from now, if we've not got answers, the internet ain't going away. Okay? But sadly, one or two things will play out here. However much I shout at them, it can never subside the fear of what brought them to make these decisions in the first place. And I know for a fact, there's no money involved. No one's stealing any money. There's no payoffs. there's just threats, and these threats are real when they come from a world where a family member or a friend or a workmate is the poster child for freedom for these survivors and the liberation and the destruction of human transportation at the highest level that we've ever seen. The rules don't apply to her. This is all fishy. And I just want to say, Patrick, Elliot, thank you for being here. We're just about to start our next show with Patrick and Elliot. I will apologize. There's going to be some big boy words used in this that I'm going to pretend like I know what this whole situation is, but I'm looking forward to hearing and being educated on it. I just want to double check that I have set up the Uber. Listen, I'll just want to say to everybody, Elliot and Patrick and myself, we're trying to set up a weekly time slot for the three of us to have chats and things like this on Shaun's channel. We've got somebody called Uber who I know is going to want to talk to you guys. He's just come into our call-in center, but we've just sort of ran out of time, Uber. So next time we'll get you on, because he's our in-house amateur statement analyzer, body language analyzer, and he's good. He's good. He's an amateur, but he's good. And he's not a yes man either, which is great. Freaking nothing worse. So listen, all of the boys' links are down in the description. Make sure you go and follow them. Can we get some, can we rate Patrick's suit out of 10 in the comments? I'm going like a hard like 8.7 on this one. This is good. This is sharp. Do you know what I'm saying? You've got this like horror movie from the early 80s, like light flicker going on that gives you this like this presence where I'm like, does he know how intimidating the light is? Does he know how years of cinema have made me believe that this light flickering is like, if I don't listen, something serious is going down? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know why that is. I just noticed that myself.
Don't pretend you don't know, Patrick. You spent months getting that right, just being like, I need to look like I'm on a VHS with static. Do you know what I'm saying? It works, man. It works, dude. I'm telling you. So we're going to see you guys over there. We're getting lots of 9s. That Shaun Attwood came in with a 10. Listen, can I just show you something, Shaun? I just want to show you something. Do you see how many buttons are on this man's collar? Do you know what that's called? A normal amount of buttons, Shaun. Okay, Shaun, I seen Shaun with a shirt that had 6 buttons just in the corner of his collar, right? And then he's got like an extra 4 of them. What are you doing with all the buttons? Like, do you know what I'm saying? For a man that, in fact, you know what? We're not going to make that joke. We're just going to go to the next show. I need to start the next show, boys. So if you guys want to leave this show, I've sent Elliot the link for the next show. When I see you guys coming into that show, I'll start the show and then everyone should be pushed over.
Sounds good.
On, get your woman's hair cut off. How dare you, Darren? Okay, Darren. I don't know what it looks like. You think, I bet, in fact, you know what, Darren? I don't have time to bust your chops, but I owe you one, Darren. Okay. And I just want to bring your attention to your picture and what it looks like being cropped out that you're doing in this photograph. Okay, young man. So I just want to say, we'll see you all in the next one. Elliot, Patrick, thank you so much. And Elliot's got the link, Patrick. I'm sure he'll send it over to you. And I'm going to kick you straight over there and I'll see you in there. All right. Really, really smart guys. Like, I'm not going to lie. Really, really, really smart guys. And just excited to be doing shows with them. So I'm going to start the next show now. Okay. I love how Shaun sits and watches me do this when you could just nip in the back end. That doesn't sound right. Do you know what? I'm going to stop talking. I'm waiting for this to go live. Right. We're live on that one now. So now I can end this one. Is that right? End this.